Now then, Tigers, how are we doing? I hope we're all doing well. Oh, God. Once again, Hull City have dropped points as they've extended their winless run to 4 now after drawing 1-1 with Birmingham City. It's the third consecutive time we've played Birmingham at home and drew 1-1. Like I've said in other videos, draws cannot happen when you're in championship fights, whether it's the promotion battle, playoff battle or relegation battle. Especially when Wrexham defeated Stoke and Derby defeated Oxford United, making them 2 or 3 points away from 6th place Hull City, who really need to get a result in their next match against Leicester City. And please, make it happen, Tigers. In my opinion, I feel like the main reason how we dropped points in this game was, I would say, because we didn't make substitutions earlier in the match. We needed a fresh pair of legs. We needed some added energy to the players and to the team so we could maybe thrive for a second goal. But sadly, that wasn't the case. It was one of them where we were just trying to hold on basically to a 1-0 win, holding on for 3 points, but yet having that risk of conceding and dropping points, which is exactly what happened. Joe Gelhardt did take the lead. Liam Miller looked very dangerous going into the box. I don't know if he was going to try and pass to him or maybe go alone. He gets tackled. The ball finds its way to Joffy. He shoots first time, takes a deflection, goes in, 1-0. Very happy. Good start. Let's try and keep a lead, shall we? Ha! Nope! Because ever since the return from international break, we cannot seem to keep a 1-0 lead. Hence why we need to score more than 1 goal. Because with about 15 minutes left of the game, or maybe a bit less, Birmingham scored a great goal through, I think it was Iwata. It was a great strike. I think Mo Bloomy, it kind of starts with him trying to knock the ball forward and create a counter-attack. It's given straight away. They kind of go on the attack. They try and cross the ball in. Egan or McNair tries to header the ball away. They kind of clash into each other at the same time. Both of them are on the floor, and it just gives a great shot for Itawa or Iwata, I can't remember his name, who just scores a great goal in the top corner. Ivo Pando can't do anything about it. We did have a chance to maybe snatch the win. Balls in the air, in the box. Semir Jai volleys it, and it drags wide. I think if anyone else was in that position, they probably would have scored that volley. It's just Semir Jai is just simply not good at shooting, especially with his feet, that's for sure. I'm more relying on his heading, to be honest. Speaking earlier about the substitutions, it wasn't just about when we were going to put them on, it was who we were going to put on. And if I can remember correctly, we definitely brought on Kyle Joseph, we brought on Yu Hirakawa, very fine with that. We brought on Ryan Giles, but we also decided to bring on Lewis Kumas and Kieran Dowell, 2 players who, to me, aren't really as good performers or consistent performers compared to the likes of KJ Yu, who's good to see back in the squad, as well as Ryan Giles. I do honestly think Kieran Dowell just seems like a pointless signing. I can't say he did much in this game when he came on. He didn't look like he was going to make much of an impact. For Kumas, it was basically the same, and well, by the time we put KJ, Yu Hirakawa and Ryan Giles on, I feel like it was a bit too late. We should have brought them players on earlier and it could have really changed the game. So, the player ratings. This is going to be quite interesting because I honestly think most players didn't really have much of a bad performance, in my opinion. I think it was the fact that we were defensively solid. We didn't really give Birmingham much of a chance, apart from maybe one opportunity and, of course, the flipping screamer they scored. Maybe we were a bit more disappointed on the attack. We maybe could have created a few more better opportunities or done better towards goal. But, hey, we just need to improve clinically. It's as simple as that. So starting off in goal, we did have Ivo Pando, no surprise. And to be fair, he wasn't that busy. Definitely had to make a few saves, but there weren't really dangerous shots that Birmingham were exactly having. He was a bit hesitant on the occasion to collect balls. Just, I think, because he was worried that maybe the centre-halves were going to chase him down or try and clear the ball away at any point in time. He did try and punch balls away from the corners, which was good. And his distribution was alright. I think there was only maybe like 1 kick, which wasn't very pleasing to look at, to be honest. But apart from that, I don't think he did a bad job. You definitely can't blame him for the goal. I'm sorry. If people try and blame Pando for conceding that goal, please just get out. I'm going to give Panda a 7. I think that's very fair. You know, he didn't really do anything wrong in this match. I think, you know, even just his short passing was alright. Never really made a wrong decision. I think there was sometimes we were getting frustrated that we weren't playing the ball quick enough when we were drawing 1-1 to try and, you know, get the ball up the pitch as quick as possible. But that's because the players weren't rushing to get up the pitch. I don't think you can really blame Panda for that. At right back, it was Louis Coyle who started. And I'm just going to say it straight away. I think he might have been one of the best players on that pitch. Defensively, that's for sure. I think he maybe didn't bring so much on the attack. He was trying to give some support to Mo Balumi down the line when he could. And he was never always needed. I think it was sometimes he was making these overlapping runs. And by the time Coyle was at a good position, Balumi was already cutting inside, dribbling, looking for a shot or trying to lay it off to someone. I think there was one chance, I think, where Coyle was in the box. And I don't know if he was either going to try and cross it or try and shoot, but it just blazed over the bar, which I was a bit disappointed with. But defensively, I think he was brilliant. Honestly, I really think he was very solid. You can't take any away from him. I think he really does, obviously, a better job at right back than he does at left because, I mean, that is his preferred position. I don't kind of want to jump on it and go, oh, maybe he deserves such a high rating. But I think he really does because we've seen performances where he's maybe not done as well as he has in this game. I'm going to give Louis Coyle a 7.5. You may think that's high, but I think that's pretty fair if you ask me. Semi Ajayi and John Egan. I tell you what, these two in the first half, I think defended very well. Defended brilliantly. Ajayi was doing very well to head crosses away, especially from corners. Egan was doing well to win balls when the keeper was hoofing it long towards the Birmingham attack or Hull defence. He did really well, did Egan. There was maybe a couple of times where I thought, well, hold on, why has he passed it out of play? And it was just like, what are you doing there, John? Are you alright? Ajayi was mainly trying to hoof up the pitch, especially in the second half. I think he was one of the most common players to do that rather than play it on the floor, which would have been a lot more better and a lot more useful. Both centre-halves did a decent job. I think Semi Ajayi, I'm definitely going to give a 7. He was solid, especially in that first half, as I said before. Second half, maybe could have been a bit better, but listen, I don't think there's really any problem with him and Egan starting the rest of the matches. It's just a question, really, once again, is Hughes actually going to start a match for the rest of this championship campaign? And as for John Egan, I was maybe going to dabble in a 7.5, but I'm going to give him a 7. I think when he did clash with McNair, I don't think he was at fault for that, in my opinion. I think it was more McNair kind of made him trip over or stumble over, and it's obviously just what led basically to the goal. I think if either one of those players were standing up, they could have pressed towards Itawa, and that goal could have been prevented. Paddy McNair, I don't think was too bad. He did get a booking, which kind of, he had to be a lot more careful, which means he couldn't be as physical in this match. He got the booking in the first half, which didn't really help. Apart from a decent cross into the box in the first half from a free kick, defensively wasn't great. Maybe he could have been better in my opinion, but I think that was more due to the yellow card. He was bound to come off the pitch eventually because of that as well, and well, let's be honest, I think Ryan Giles was always going to come on the pitch. Whether he's going to start or not for the next few games, Giles, I have absolutely no idea. So what I'll say with McNair is he didn't do a bad job, but I think compared to Egan, Ajayi and Coyle, didn't do as well. So I guess kind of for that reason, I'm going to give him a 6.5. For me, that kind of really does seem a bit harsh, but I'm just going to go for that. Moving on to Tree. This is a funny one because he didn't have a bad game, to be fair, but there were times where I think maybe he could have done a bit better. I think sometimes when he was on the ball, he kind of just couldn't control it very well. Sometimes he'd pass to the wrong player. There was always that better option. I think there's a couple of times where you really think, oh, could he got on the end of one of these crosses? I think for Tree, it's either a 6.5 or a 7, and I feel like I'm going to be too harsh if I give him a 6.5, so I'm going to give him a 7. As for Amir Hatzimetovic, again, not one of his best games. I think he really could have done a bit of a better job. He hasn't really stood out as much as he has in previous games, like, for instance, the Coventry match. I think the Sheffield game, it wasn't exactly great. This one, the same as well. You know, similar to Tree, some options of his passes where he could have played it to someone else who was in a better position, or could have maybe played it forward quicker rather than playing it to Coyle, and he's kind of stuck having to just either go down the line or back to a Jai or Pando. I just think really for Amir, he's kind of slowed down a bit, and I'm not saying it's worrying, but it's one of them where a player's in good form and they can have that dip, as I've said before. I'm just hoping that's going to go back up and he'll go back to his normal self. Hopefully he starts against Leicester. So, because of that, I'm going to give Amir 6.5. Maybe that is harsh, maybe it isn't. I think Tree just maybe had a better game compared to Amir, but I'm not saying Amir did bad. I think he just could have done a bit better. Mo Balumi on the right wing. I did think that maybe he was going to start if Joseph didn't. I feel pretty stupid now after saying that Carl Joseph was going to start, because now he's just like a sub that comes on for the last 10 minutes of the game rather than, well, either starting or coming on in like the 60th or maybe 70th minute. But anyway, Mo Balumi. Great game. Great game once again. Really just showed how dangerous of a player he is, especially as a winger. There's some times where I think maybe he could do better. I think that shot he had in the first half, if he'd maybe gone more towards the corner, or if maybe he aimed for the near post, would he have scored? I don't know, but it was still a good chance he created. He just looked so dangerous on the ball. He's good with his long throw-ins as well. You have to give some credit for that. There was that moment in the second half where he was he had a bit of space or just a bit of room where he could have maybe shot, and he decided to take on two players, dribble past them, and he still didn't shoot, but he ended up laying it off to Miller, which by then, if Miller was going to shoot, it was instantly going to get blocked, which it was. And yeah, it was kind of like a chance wasted. And I think after, I would say, the 70th minute, Balumi may have still had a bit of energy left in him, but he just didn't look as effective as he did in the minutes prior to that. The thing is, I would love to give a 7.5, but my only thing is that, of course, he didn't make a goal contribution or goal involvement, but it has to be a minimum of 7 you can give him. So I'm going to give him a rating of 7. Joe Gelhardt in Cam, I did think he would start in this position, and I think Sergei did get it right, I think. I said this in the preview, where if you have Joffrey and Joseph, they will switch. Very likely for that to happen. But if it's Balumi playing on the right wing and Joffrey and Cam, it's very rare it's going to happen, because Balumi's always going to stick to that right hand side. He's never going to play in a central position. And I think Joffrey, sometimes he is just better playing wide. In a central position, sometimes he was good there. He was, driving forward, trying to, create something. He was, he played it to Miller or Balumi when he needed to. He had a pretty decent game. I think they probably did right to take him off, because I think he will be an effective player going up in that Leicester City match. Of course, he scored the goal. Yes, it was deflected. Still his goal, though, isn't it? I'm going to give Joffrey a 7.5. I think that's pretty fair, in my opinion. I think, obviously, he did get taken off the pitch. If he maybe lasted the full game, let's say we did win 2-1, maybe he would have got that 8. But I'm going to give him a 7.5. Liam Miller! Oh, Liam Miller, this is an interesting one, because you can clearly tell Balumi's the better dribbler and the more dangerous winger. And he's kind of got some sort of end product compared to Miller, who doesn't as much. I still think going down that left-hand side, he was quite effective, did cause a bit of trouble for, well, not so much for the fullbacks, but for the central midfielders and the wingers that were trying to close him down and kind of failed to tackle him. He really did make the most of that. I think I think compared to other games, like for instance, he did brilliant in that Coventry game in my opinion, and he didn't do too bad against Sheffield United as well. This game, not as good. It's a bit similar to Amir, it wasn't as good as we've seen him prior. And I know some fans are kind of always frustrated with Miller throughout this season because he just doesn't have, as I said before, any real end product. But I think he's one of them wingers who more is good for being the start of something to set up goals rather than just claim assists and scoring all the time. It's really dabbling between a 6.5 and a 7, and I think I'm gonna give Miller a 7. And then Ollie McBurney, who sometimes was quite a frustrating player to watch. I think his passing just wasn't on it today in this game. There were so many good chances that maybe could have happened if he just made a pass or simply tried not to hold on to the ball all the time. He was getting fouled a lot though, where Stephen Martin just wasn't blowing for fouls and, giving free kicks for Hull, because really that's what should have happened, because the amount of times McBurney got fouled and Martin was like, Play on. The way I look at it is that McBurney didn't really have many chances. He obviously was a bit isolated, which doesn't obviously help his cause. And it doesn't help the team's cause either. Like, he needs more support. But I'm not going to go too heavy on McBurney because I don't think it was one of them where he had a really bad game. But I just think, again, it's one of them, I think you could have done a bit better. So, I am going to give him a 6.5. So I mentioned before, Wrexham 2 points away, Derby 3 points away. It's all to play for now, and it's just slipping away a bit for Hull, and we don't want to bottle the top 6. We don't want to bottle these playoffs. We've stuck there for quite some time. We need to stick in this position, and this next game against Leicester is absolutely crucial. We get a win. Also, don't forget, EFL Awards are on Sunday, and Sergei Kirovic is one of the nominees for Championship Manager of the Season. So I hope you've all voted for him, because he definitely deserves that award. Fingers crossed he gets it. And hey, maybe that will drive a bit of confidence for Tuesday night as well. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure to check out any previous videos or any of my YouTube shorts. Check out the socials in the link in my description. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and up the Tigers!